started. All right. All right, so I'm going to jump in, and whoever joins us, and that's okay. So I'm Lynne Golodner. Most of you know who I am, and I really appreciate you being here. This is the first Make Meaning Hour that I'm hosting, and I'm going to be hosting them every couple of weeks. And I'll tell you at the end of this session when the next one is. If you liked it and you want to come back, that's great. And some other programs that we're going to be launching. But basically, this is an opportunity to reach out to people, to create some connection around this topic of meaning and purpose. And I'll tell you a little bit about it so that we can introduce the concept and tell you more about what's ahead. I'm going to mute everybody right now if you don't mind, and I'll unmute you when we get into the interactive part. But that way we won't have the background noise and all that. So, all right, so what is the Make Meaning movement? Well, it started in a way with the Make Meaning podcast, which is a podcast I've been doing for 2 years. We have new episodes every Monday. If you'd like to check it out, I welcome you. I'd love to have you listening and giving your feedback and suggesting guests. But really, I was a journalist for a long time, writing about how people find meaning in the mundane, and that was sort of my thing. And so this has been a question I've been really focused on for a long time. And for the past 12 years, I've run a PR marketing company called Your People. And it really bothered me that I was doing all of this writing about meaning and purpose and a podcast that was focused on this. And yet I'm doing PR marketing, and I wanted the two to come together. So I started thinking about how do we find the meaning and the purpose in our lives, and how do we use that to direct the work that we do. And it actually sort of creeps into the PR and marketing that I do for companies. We usually have a formula that says story, relationships, and higher purpose or meaning are the things you need to market whatever organization or business you're working on. But I didn't make that meaning or purpose a huge center point to the marketing. So I really started thinking about how does meaning penetrate marketing? So how do we find meaning on a personal basis? And then how do we find it for our organizations? And then use that information to direct us in next steps, in stories that we tell, in activities that we offer, and things like that. And so that's what the Make Meaning movement is all about. It is brand new. It's been sort of cogitating in my head for a while, but the website is launching tomorrow. So I'll share that with you guys when it's up. It will be makemeaning.org. And we will have all different programs that will be workshops and one-on-one coaching. We have a book that I'm working on that's coming out by the fall about the Make Meaning framework, and sort of giving you step-by-step about how do you identify your meaning, and then what do you do with that information, and how do you use it to drive you forward. And so that's where it all came from. And what I would like to do is invite you to introduce yourselves in a moment, who you are, what you do, maybe why you're here today, and then do you feel you know your purpose? And if so, maybe what is it? Or if not, you know, we're going to get there a little bit today. So we're going to start with introductions, and then I'm going to do some little breakout rooms, which is a nice tool that I'm going to play with on Zoom. So bear with me, so that you guys have a chance to be in smaller groups, answering some questions and doing some discovery, and then we'll come back together and share what we've gained. So I'm going to unmute people, and I'm going to invite you. There you go. I'm going to invite you to go one by one. So the question is, who are you? What do you want to share with us today? Why are you here? And then do you feel you know your purpose? So let me, I'm just going to go in the order that you guys appear on my screen. So Tanya, you're in the hot seat. You are first. So please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tanya Boney, and I am up in Clarkston. I actually am a stay-at-home mom. I've been home with my kids for, so my story, I'll take a step back first for a moment. About 10 years ago, I was in corporate, and through all the downsizing and the contraction of the economy back 10 years ago, my life shifted then. Then I became a mama in 2010, and I've been with my kids since then, but I'm kind of at sort of another pivot point of my kids are going to be in full-time school very soon, and within the next year and a half. And I'm trying to figure out kind of next steps for myself professionally. I did a few years back start an LLC, a small consulting company, mostly focused in marketing, helping small businesses with their marketing needs. But I'm still kind of in launch mode, and I shared that with Lynn through an email. But so I heard about this, and I thought I'm going to jump in and see. It's interesting, the concept of making meeting, but also then how it can apply to me personally and professionally. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Catherine, you are next. Let's hear from you.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Catherine Bigelow, and who am I? So I'm quite a dynamic individual. I'm kind of at a pivot point right now. I connected to this thing that Lynn was offering just because it resonated with me, as I shared with her. I'm in between successes right now, looking for my next home, and I really find purpose in work. Did not realize it as much as I do. Unlike our last person that spoke, I do not have children, so it's just my husband and I, happily married, but I really think I fulfill half of my life in a corporate environment, and I'm missing that. The last 7 months, I kind of took a direction, little different direction. I accepted a position where I was 100% remote. Maybe I would have loved it if I was aligned better with the company, but it wasn't what I thought it was. So I'm kind of in this season, if you may, where I'm trying to rediscover what I like, what I want, where I want to be, and who it's going to be with. And this is like the silver lining. I know COVID's not good, but for me, it's really been like take a breath, breathe, see things that I am not seeing, and just looking at life, I think, in general, at the age of 46 in a different lens. So this is allowing me to do that. And I'm happy. I've met great people like Lynn and others who are just giving, and it's wonderful. That's why I'm here. My purpose, I think, out of all this is to hopefully guide me into the direction where it's supposed to be. I'm going to be patient, I'm going to persevere, and I know that I'll get there. I just don't know where and when.
Yeah, it's interesting because thank you for being here.
I've
always believed that we each have a purpose. There's a reason each of us is on this planet. And so we spend our lives trying to figure out what that is. And some people are lucky to discover that early, and some almost never do. Maybe don't ask the question or aren't wondering about it. And that's fine. But I do believe every single human on this planet has something unique to contribute. And I think it's that much richer of an experience when we know what that is, and we can really use that to guide us. So I'm hoping that that this movement can help people move along a little bit. So Lorraine, I would like to invite you to go next. I think you have to unmute. There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorraine. I do human resources at Cleary University in Michigan. We're in Howell. And I just loved Lynn from the moment I met her the first time, but I appreciated her doing this because similar to what you said, Lynn, I love my job. I do human resources, but I'm not saving lives. I'm not making these huge movements in the world. And so I feel like I'm torn between, I like what I do, but how can I find that extra meaning, especially, I have a 2.5-year-old son, and I think back when I was young and how much I volunteered and I did stuff. My parents involved me in things like that, and I want to make sure I'm setting that example for him. But I still feel, Catherine, like you said, like there's something there, and I just haven't figured it out yet. And so I feel like once I figure it out, it's going to be like the puzzle piece has all come together, and I'm like moving 100 miles an hour, but I'm just kind of like in that moment where you're like, I feel it in me. I feel like I have more to give, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it yet. So that's why I was attracted to this meeting. So.
Absolutely. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the sweet words that you said. So Merle, wonderful to see you from Miami. You're up.
Thank you.
Oh, and by the way, Merle was a lovely guest on the Make Meeting podcast, and that's how we became friends. So if you haven't heard the podcast, start with her episode. She's phenomenal.
Thank you. So I actually am one of the lucky ones. I have found my purpose, and I think early on in life I knew my purpose. I was a teacher. I started with elementary school, and I have been in education all my life in one form or another. In 2011, at the end of 2011, I retired and began teaching a class called Living and Leaving Your Legacy, and it has helped me to help other people find their meaning and understand that how they live their life is their legacy. Why I'm here, I have grown to really love my relationship with Lynn. We've been getting to know each other. And I just wanted to support you and see what this was all about. So that's why
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Tracy, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Wick. I am a realtor and project manager for helping families and fiduciaries seamlessly prepare estate homes for market. And I actually feel very satisfied with my work that I do because I am able to help people that the beneficiaries might be out of state or they can't handle things the way that they personally would want to. And I'm able to really step in and help them at a time that's, very special for them. So from that perspective, I feel very well connected with the work that I do, and I'm very satisfied by it. What I was attracted by when Lynn was talking with Brenda Miller on the webinar the other day is when you were talking about how meaning and purpose, they're very emotionally driven concepts that we naturally are attracted to and that make us feel like closer to others, because we're kind of showing something about ourselves that has more meaning. And I thought I was really attracted to learning what some of the questions that I would ask myself to discover these things that I never talk about. And so that's why I'm here, because I thought there must be some kind of methodology to kind of exploring this way of communicating.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming. It's great to meet you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Linda, please tell us your story.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lynn, thanks for hosting this. My name's Linda Price, and I am in business with my husband. We have a company we started in 1993, Identity Creative, and we help small to medium businesses discover their unique value that they bring, create a message and a look for them. So it's really a business transformation process. And as far as meaning, I think we all live our purpose on some level. We just don't know how to codify it or describe it. So I think people can feel, at least I felt like, what's my purpose? I need to know it. And so one evening, and we've done so much coaching and soul searching, like, what's the purpose of our business? And Bill and I were having a glass of wine one night, and I just go, what energizes you, Bill? And he was like, I don't know. And I said, you know what? You always say you want to connect with people, whatever. That night just sparked light bulbs and insights. And I said, I love to connect in every conversation. If I can walk away and someone feels like they have a better idea of the value they bring. I was like, that's exactly what I do in our business. I just carved a way to make that happen. So connecting with people like this, helping people find the value within them and then the value they bring to their business, and then communicate that. I think people will attract their ideal clients. So what interested me about this was, first of all, Lynn's talent. And she's doing something. Oh, let's talk that about. And then I am when you said something about pivot, I know we're at a place where we could really come out strong from this scenario. And I have been really wanting to build workshops to help businesses do this on a more time budget if they're constrained, or maybe they just have a small business with the HR director is also the office manager and they don't know their brand strategy or whatever. And I am just stuck there. I get into the weeds, I get intimidated, I lose confidence. So I thought this might be a good place to just regroup. So thanks, Lynn.
Awesome. Sure. What Linda was mentioning, some of you might already know, is the pause and pivot worksheet that we developed. And it's new, and I've sent it to whoever's asked for it. But the idea, and we'll be doing a pause and pivot workshop at some point, is that we are in this great pause, this global pause with COVID right now. Some people are being forced to stop whatever they were doing. Maybe they lost their job, their company is, shut down or whatever it is, or they're choosing to, and they're needing to pivot into a new direction. So whether that's finding new work or deciding that they have the time, so they want to use that to really realize things they've always wanted to do. Sometimes it can be a choice. Sometimes you're forced into making that choice, but it can be an opportunity no matter what circumstances lead you there. And so the Pause and Pivot worksheet is it's intended for people to get the juices flowing and ask themselves important questions so that they can take ownership of the situation, however it came to be, and then use that creatively to go into a new direction where they want to be, where their meaning is leading them. So if you would like it, let me know after the program and I'm happy to send it to you. So let's finish our introductions. We have Christina next. We just have to unmute you. Let's see. Oh, sorry. There we go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christina Babb. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so I'm not from Michigan. I learned about Lynne from the Brenda Meller workshop, Marketing Guru on LinkedIn, and I so enjoyed the program that I wanted to connect with you, Lynne, and I've been finding so many incredible resources on LinkedIn. A little bit about myself that leads up to answering the questions is that I'm in a grand pivot and I am completely on the path to working in the place where I feel I'm going to have the most purpose and meaning to my life, and that meshes with my personality and my values, and that is all my own. So let me explain that slightly. I'm in the process of getting a divorce. I have not worked for myself in over 20 years. I have 2 kids. One is about to graduate from high school virtually. One is younger. To say that things have been difficult lately would be accurate. However, I have, through my professional life, done a variety of things, which was support our small business, and also been a volunteer fundraiser and volunteer manager and development team person for higher ed, and been involved in a fund manager on their development team. And I've also been a Toastmaster for almost 10 years. I'm a Toastmasters trainer. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm passionate about Toastmasters. So I have had the opportunity to do some soul searching, figuring out what I really want to do next and what is my next best step. I, in the past 8 months, have been going full force in trying to identify what my career path was going to be. So I'm in hot pursuit of trying to get on a team for nonprofit fundraising.
Okay.
And that, of course, means a lot of different things. There's many different aspects to that industry.
Sure.
And I've worked, like I said, I'll work for a fund manager, but the fund manager is in charitable giving. So I actually have an interview on Thursday that's for another charitable giving charity. So I'm excited about this. Other things that I've been doing over the last several months is been in a really big learning mode, trying to understand how to market myself. How does marketing really work now? And then there was crisis marketing, because this all evolved with this shutdown when it happened. There were so many opportunities to learn about and directly from people in this industry, whether it be nonprofit or not. How are they responding? How are people responding to this?
Sure.
On both a personal level and a professional level. So I have been watching no fewer than 3 webinars a week And I've just, because I can,
Mhm.
hopefully I'll be working soon and I won't have as much time. But I've really taken the opportunity with the incredible amount of resources that are available to us for free to learn from people that have, probably long experiences that can inform people who are newer to certain industries, and that can be across the board.
Sure.
So
That's-
I've worked hard on trying to figure out what the purpose is. It's to connect with people on a very personal level, to listen deeply, to be empathetic and compassionate, to help people unlock dollars for philanthropic use. And
Great.
that's part of my elevator pitch. And I can do that by working on teams that are working to help people discover ways in which they can become givers.
Excellent. Well, welcome. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you're here. A little geographic diversity, so that's great. Let's finish with Chris doing an introduction and then we'll jump into the work. Chris, welcome. To unmute
Birth
you.
name is
Let's see.
Christina. So when Lynn called Christina, I thought, oh, what name do I have up there? But in business, I go by Chris. And I have a gangster handle, which is Dr. MNZ. My last name is Emmons. And my license plate on my car says Dr. MNZ. Lorraine, it's nice to see you. You and I both teach at Cleary. So what I do is I teach MBA students predominantly at a couple of different colleges and universities. I have a 4 Fortune 500 corporations I worked for, and then I started a consulting practice around the same time, Linda, that you started your company. 1989 is when I kicked off here in Detroit, and ran a consulting firm for about 15 years. And then I became I'm actually a baby academic. I became an academic with my PhD in 2013, but started teaching like about 2005, 2006, I started teaching. I met Lynn when I first graduated and was looking at creating an academic blog. And so she was very helpful with that blogging conversation. And Catherine, I know you said that you're inventing yourself at the age of 36. Well, let me tell you what, at 66, you'll still be doing it, because that's my story.
Isn't that great? That makes it fun.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong process. So it was great hearing everybody's stories. I consider myself to, if I was to say what I do, I facilitate learning conversations. And so that fits in the model of the fact that I did that as an internal HR executive. I did that when I was in a consulting role, and I certainly continue to do that while I teach MBA students.
Awesome.
I've been intrigued by Lynn's Make Meaning, for a while. And so I've been to a couple of her other events. This one particularly is calling to me because we are in this situation where we really do need to pause and pivot. And so when I was 18, it was about, and in high school, earlier than that, it was about the environment. It was about the Vietnam War. It was about civil rights. I wore the American flag on my butt, because that's what we did in the 60s, right? We wore the American, I demonstrated. I remember going to Ann Arbor after the invasion and demonstrating, and there were snipers on the top University of Michigan buildings. as we were marching. And I thought, really, seriously, I'm going to get killed at this demonstration after surviving what I did in the 60s. But nevertheless, I think I'm getting ready to go back out there. So
Well,
so at any rate,
awesome.
I think that we've got a time that we need to work together in this country. We need to work together globally. And so I'm taking my pause and pivot about thinking, you know, my role in education will continue, but I also am feeling a bit more politically inclined at this stage of my life as well.
Awesome.
So,
Welcome, Chris. It's
so
great
it's
to see
perfect
you
for me
here.
here.
Excellent. And you bring up a really good point too, because you know, some of you are speaking in terms of work and career, others personal meaning. The way I teach the Make Meaning Matrix is that it comes first from within as to who you are, and that determines what you might do. And that's an interesting question because it's not easy to answer. We think we know, but a lot of times we'll go into the whole, well, I went to this school and I did this, and I find myself guilty of it all the time. But that may not be who I am, and I have to sort of clear away that surface to really get there, and it's hard to find that. And I would like to jump into that. I noticed that Beth just joined us. So Beth, if you could
Hi.
very, very quickly just introduce yourself quickly about who you are, where you are, and do you feel that you found your purpose?
I'm floundering a little bit. My name is Beth. I'm in Maryland, and I have had my own business that finally has in writing and editing, publications management. But I've really found through the years, for more than 20 years, and I've really honed in and focused on my passions, which are health. All my work pretty much relates to health, education, and children's welfare issues. And I've found a lot of, I mean, right now I feel like I have a lot of stability in it, and I'm trying to just keep up with stuff. I'm just like all of you, I'm sure, are very caught up and worried about the future of our country and health. In particular, it feels like I'm not really getting away from it because it so happens that it's intertwined with so much of the health work that I'm doing, that I'm constantly writing and editing pieces on it.
Yeah.
I also have a cute little puppy, and I have a 17-year-old daughter who, well, that's a whole other story, but I have a 17-year-old. I guess I don't need to say any more, right?
Well, welcome. It's great to see you, Beth. Thank you for being here today.
Yes.
Oh,
I had to deal
sorry.
with things. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So let's jump in. So the way this is going to go, we have about a half hour. It might move a little quickly. So just prepare yourselves, and we could even stand up and do a quick little breath in the middle. But I'm going to break you into groups of 3 in breakout rooms. You'll have just 5 minutes in the breakout room. So it's a focused conversation. And I'm going to ask you to discuss a question. And so we're going to do this at least 2 times. If we have time, we'll do it a 3rd time. And the idea is that we're just going to start to scratch the surface of our personal meaning statement. And so you may not get there by the end of this session, but I'm always here to help you continue the conversation afterwards. So after we do the breakout, we'll come back, we'll share a little bit about what you noticed. We'll go back into the breakout room, do another round, and if we have time, we'll do a 3rd. And then at the end, we'll wrap up, and I will offer you some opportunities that I'm going to be launching in the next few weeks, and I'd love to work with you on them. So let me put you into breakout rooms. The first question, if you'd like to start thinking about it, and I believe I have the technical ability to write it so it will pop up in the breakout room, so I'm going to hope to do that. But the first question is, what is something that you did as a child that you loved? So this would be the activity that you just did because it just drew you. You just sort of, when you had time, that's what you went to doing. And then could you do that now? Why or why not? So give it a little thought while I put you into rooms, and then I'll see you back in a few minutes. Let's see. Okay. Excellent. Okay, you guys can go into the rooms, and I'm going to message you right now. Hey, Tracy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Sorry about the
So,
delay.
no worries. So everybody's in breakout rooms answering the
Okay.
first question. So I'm so sorry that you didn't get the link, but I'm so glad you're here. And what I would encourage you to do is just sort of hang tight because they have 3 minutes left and then they'll all be
Okay.
back in. And then
Sure.
I will put you into a breakout room for the next question, if that's
Okay.
cool. All right.
Yeah, no, that's great. If you can catch me up, what has taken place so far?
Yeah, so I introduced the Make Meaning movement, which has grown out of my podcast called the Make Meaning Podcast, and my work as a journalist over the years doing articles about how people find meaning in the mundane. And I have a marketing and PR company, and so I really wanted to align all those efforts into one thing. And so looking at how do we find our personal meaning, how do we let that direct us to professional meaning, and then marketing with meaning as well. And so we went around, we just introduced ourselves. I asked everybody to say who they were, where they are, and then what brought them here today, and do they think they found their purpose or not? And then jumped into breakout rooms about 4 minutes ago. And the first question I asked them to answer was, what was something you enjoyed doing as a child? Something that you sort of gravitated toward whenever you had the time? And then could you do that now? Why or why not? And so that's what they're discussing in small groups of 3. And they're going to come back in 1 minute. Actually, let me just tell them they have 1 minute. Hold on a second.
Sure, yeah.
1 minute to go. And then they'll come back and share their insights, and then we'll jump into, I'd like to do 2 more breakout rooms. So tell me quickly, what brought you here, and do you know your purpose?
Yeah, thanks. I met you or heard you speak back. It wasn't Women in Leadership, or it was another women's group in Saginaw.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Years ago. Yeah, over at the golf course.
Oh yeah, I love that. That was such a great crowd.
Yeah. So I've kind of followed, that's how I signed up for your newsletter, and I followed some of your work, you know, and yeah, I do have my purpose. It's just, I find these groups, in fact, the other group I was in was a similar visioning type thing. I just
cool.
find it helps me get clarity to continually mine it through different people's approaches.
Awesome.
And so
what's your purpose? Can you like put it in a sentence maybe?
Sure. I partner with horses to help human development. And
I love
I'm an equine assisted learning facilitator and educator. And so I've got a grant I'm going to apply for that gives me inspiration to continue to find another way to have the conversation. So
I love it.
Lining up real clean.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining. I'm really glad you're here. They're all going to come back in right now.
Okay.
So hold your horses.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, they have, once I close them, they have like a minute, and so that counts down for them. But no, I think it's really important to know how the personal purpose informs that career purpose, which is really cool. So, hi, everybody.
Hi. That breakout session was neat.
Isn't that
Pretty
cool?
neat.
I feel so tech savvy, I have to say. I just do.
That's great.
So I'll tell you, while we're waiting for everybody to come back in, but I participated in a program last week with Seth Godin. I don't know if you know him, but he's this marketing guru who's just amazing. And he has these programs through Akimbo. That's one of his companies. And this was called the Real Skills Conference. He had 2,000 people from around the world last Friday doing this, and it was on Zoom.
Wow.
And they did breakout rooms. So if you can even imagine, they had 2,000 people, and then they divided up that total number by birth month. So you were in a group by your birth month. And then from there, so if you do that math, I mean, we had about 120 in June. And so from there, they had to do groups of like 4. And so, I mean, it was, if they could do that on the fly, I knew I could do this. So I was really proud of myself. So yeah. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. And we have Tracy has joined us. So Tracy's here. I would love to hear from you. We'll take just about 3-4 minutes, but please share how this felt to you or any insights that you gained from it.
It was fun doing a flashback to when I was a kid.
Yeah. What did you love to do, Chris?
I wrote stories and took them to my first grade class. I was the first grade class first published author, I think.
Nice.
Getting published in my fantasy as a first grader. But if the teacher would read it to class, that was cool. So then we thought about how that applies now, and it's time to get back to blogging.
Good. Who else?
Yeah, it sparked joy. You just think about when you're young and how free you felt doing whatever your activity was, and it just brought instant joy.
Yeah, because there was no obligation to earn a living from it.
Mhm.
You didn't have to pay bills. You didn't have to accomplish certain goals. It was just free creativity from who you are at the core, which is really who we are all the time, but sometimes that gets clouded by all the obligations and worries, anxieties, responsibilities that, yes, society puts on us and we put on ourselves, but sometimes they're not as heavy a cloak as we think they are. We just let them be, you know, so it's really cool to tap back into that. Is anybody else? Well, yeah, Merle.
It was also interesting to see how it carries through in our lives. You know,
Yeah.
if in fact, and in our case,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much we still do those things in some way, in some form. And it was interesting just to be able to trace that back to where it all began.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody realize that you did something as a child that you don't do anymore because somebody told you you couldn't, or it was in a career or something like that? Anybody have that experience? No? So I'll tell you, you know, I've always been a writer. It's been my passion my whole life. And when I wanted to do graduate school and MFA in writing, which I did, my dad said, and my dad and I were very close. He just passed away 3 months ago, but he said, I'll pay for law school. And I said, okay, an MFA in poetry is like a quarter of that cost. Could you pay for that? Which he did. So to be fair, he, you know, but he was like, listen, you're articulate, you argue, you know words, be a lawyer. It's a higher paying career, which it is. Poetry doesn't really pay, but that was what my soul needed. And so luckily, you know, my family was supportive of that, but I just remember that I'll pay for law school. So any other thoughts before we go into our second breakout session? Anyone? All right. So our next question that we're going to talk about is, what is one thing others would say about you, or what are you known for? And would you say that is how you see yourself, and why or why not? Okay. So let's set up these breakout rooms and I'll send you those questions as well. All right. And we'll see you back after 5 minutes. Let's see, 3. All right. All right. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you.
So at 3:46, I will close the room. Hello, my friend.
Hi, I guess they didn't come back with me. Great.
It counts down, and when I was in the Seth Godin thing, I made the mistake of just ending, and then I was
That's
like with the facilitators, and I'm like, oh hi.
That's exactly. They were like, no. I said, no, I'm going.
It's okay. That's great.
Yeah, it is.
It looks
This is good. This
I'm
is
so
good.
glad. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Nice.
It's amazing to be able to talk about these things. It just
Yes.
opens all kinds of channels.
Chris, I'm sorry I left so soon. I didn't.
Well, I knew it would also pop us, because we hung out before until we got popped back in. I wanted to see if it really worked or if we get lost in the abyss. So yeah, it does return.
I'm like,
Ready or not, you're going back to the main room.
Well, I told Merle that when I did the Seth Godin seminar with all those hundreds of people, and the first time I didn't realize that it'll just remove you and send you back. And so I'm like, okay. And I left, and I'm like sitting there with the two facilitators. I'm like, hey, how you doing? So it was very fun. So they're like, oh, welcome, Lynn. I'm like, I don't know you, but it's good. So,
Right.
all right. Well, how did that go? Tell me what discoveries you had.
That was good.
Who wants to share anything that they realized, stumbled upon, recognized?
50% of our group believed what others thought about them, and 50% didn't.
Interesting.
oh, wow.
What do you think about that?
I think we have our internal thoughts and doubts, and I don't know if it was private in the room, but so Tanya has leadership skills and abilities and shows that, and she's like, I don't feel like a leader, but she demonstrates she's a leader.
Interesting.
No one has, they don't necessarily use that words to describe me. I just said, I'm an organizer and a planner, and here's why. And then they're like, sounds like you're a leader. I'm like, not sure about that word.
Interesting.
But,
when I was growing up, I was told I was bossy. And of course, it was not told in a positive way. What I've realized since I became a mom, and I have 4 teenagers, as many of you know, that could be a leader. It could be a self-starter. It could be, there's a lot of positive ways to say bossy. So yeah, I am bossy. For a long time, I thought that was a terrible thing. As I'm in my late 40s, I now embrace it and say, okay, it's who I am, and how do I channel that in a positive way? But those words, on face value, don't really have positive or negative connotations. They just are. And we assign judgments to them that can send us down a path that we might not ever want to go. And it's really hard to redirect and get on another path. And so, when I was told, well, you're so bossy, and it's the tone and it's the facial expression, you take that into yourself from a young age, and you look negatively upon it. But how could it have been turned in a different direction? And my daughter has a lot of the same tendencies. And so I'll say, you're so strong, wow, you're so vocal. There are times, unfortunately, I use words I shouldn't, because we're all guilty of that. But I'm very aware of the connotation and how that can set us on a path for the rest of our lives. Right?
Well, it's also, as I'm sure you're well aware, a gender classification. We don't call boys bossy, but we certainly do call little girls bossy.
Right.
And I said, I'm not bossy, I'm a Cancer.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sheryl
why
Sandberg.
is it so?
I just want to say Sheryl Sandberg from when she wrote Lean, she talks about bossy as being executive leadership skills. And she said, no one ever calls a boy bossy, but they do girls. And so she just switched it around, and
yeah.
Same with like appearance too. I feel like I have a son, but I feel like as little girls, you're like, oh, you're so pretty, or you're so, you're so sweet. And then boys are like, oh, you're so strong, you're so smart. And so I always feel like I'm very aware of what adjectives I use for my son, so that he knows what he can be and not limiting him on those words.
It's so important. That's really important. We don't want to put anybody in a box, because the truth is that the box doesn't exist. We can limit ourselves, and that can make us unhappy. That can cause us to choose career paths or relationships that don't serve us. And so it's very brave and courageous to live outside that box, to not even see that a box is there, and to define ourselves in wholly unjudged terms as well. So as we think about that, I want to do one last breakout session and then we'll wrap up. This final question that I want to ask you is, and I want you to really let go of typical career parameters or what you already know or what you've already done, what your degree is in, what your training is in. And I just want you to free yourself to imagine, if you could do anything today, what would that be? So I don't want a box. I don't want limitations around, I have to earn this much money to keep my house, et cetera, et cetera. We all have that, but let's suspend it and put a pin in it for now and say, if you could do anything, what would it be? And then what's stopping you? Okay, so we'll do our last breakout room and then we will wrap up. All right. Welcome back.
Oh, our group wins for coming back.
Well, we're all going to be rock stars, musicians, artists, and
Love it.
yeah,
Love it.
I'm sure
Excellent.
famous. I'm sure.
We're going to do the Make Meaning soundtrack. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Someone will do the cover art. Someone will do the liner notes. You know, great, excellent. So, how did that go? What did you discover?
That's joke. So that's
Any insights?
For me, I felt like I knew elements of a job that I like, but I don't know what that job is. So I feel that friction again of like, I know what I like, but I don't know exactly what that spits out in a career yet.
Sure.
So it's a little frustrating.
Well, and we also spent a half hour today. So with time, that'll show itself, but it takes a little bit more deeper dive, but we can get there for sure. But it's cool that you're on the path. It's awesome. Who else?
I would love for Merle to share what she was doing because we were right in the middle of this great conversation and you yanked us back into this room with
Sorry. I love that you wanted to stay. I love that.
But Merle was basically, it was intriguing, saying that she was doing exactly what she wanted to do. And so I'd love to hear more about that. And Merle, because you're a listener, I knew I had to drag you into that.
So I'm 75 and I have had several careers in my life. And when I started I would consider my last career teaching, I developed a course called Living and Leaving Your Legacy. And I am literally teaching all over the country and internationally. And so I cannot think of a single thing I'd rather be doing. And I feel so grateful at this age to have the energy to do what I'm doing. So I'm very fortunate.
Cool. That's really great. Yeah, excellent. Anyone else?
And I wish the same for all of you someday.
Thank you.
We'll get there. We will get there. This is the first step.
That's right.
Any last insights? So I invite you to think about, okay, now you have some kernels of information. And we've just started the conversation. You've just opened the cavern and you can hike and you can explore and you can see what you discover. And there are lots of ways to do that. And it is a step-by-step journey. And the lizard brain will take us back to what's comfortable, what we know, what's fearful. We will try and shy away from change, but in change, it can be wonderful things. And truly the only constant is change, as we all know. So when you have instincts to say, yeah, I might really want to do that, but can't do it here, all the many reasons, we can talk back to that voice, and it takes practice and it takes time. So I invite you to sit with yourself and with the information you gathered today, and to check in with me as well, because I'd love to be with you on your journey, but to really think about what you need next to take the conversation to the next step. And I'd love to hear from you, because it might be something I can help you with, or maybe it's something I can develop a program for as well. And speaking of that, I will just tell you that I'm going to offer a couple of things in the next month. So if you're looking for more, there will be another Make Meaning session on Zoom on May 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And I will be sending out this information. So that'll come in your email. I'm going to send you all a follow-up email with a survey to gain your feedback, because I'd really love to hear from you about your experience, and be honest. All of it is good. We'll be starting a 21-day What's Your Story workshop on May 15th. It's 21 days because it takes 21 days to make a habit, and registration will open on May 6th, and it's normally priced at $97 a person. Because you participated in this, you get a discount code to make it $47 a person. There will be a private Facebook group. There will be daily emails with writing prompts and feedback, and one-on-one session per person. That'll be an hour long, so it's like a one-on-one coaching session to try to determine your story. And it can be a business story, it could be a personal story. It's the story you pitch when you go into an interview. Whatever you want it to be, it's really important to have that clarity and to make it relatable. So I'd love to work with you on that. And then starting in June 1st, I'm going to launch the first Pause and Pivot workshop, which will be 4 weeks, also online. So I'll send you details on that. So if you want some help or some hand holding in figuring out what your next step is, whether it's starting a business or looking for a new job, or pivoting in your job to something else you'd like to do, I would love to be there on the journey. Any questions? Any feedback right now? Or
I have a question.
Yes.
So exciting.
Please.
So you did something, I don't know, it was several years ago, which was a 21-day challenge. You might have done several of these, but the one that I was in is, I don't know if you would remember that one. It was like every day you would give prompts, and you could either do it for your business, it could be personal, like more creative writing, and I don't remember what the other one was. Is that very similar to what this is, or this one's different?
So the other 21-day challenges that I did a few years ago were more to generate writing. And that was more, I would send the prompts, you could do your writing, you could put the writing in the Facebook group and get feedback from the others and from me, but there was no coaching involved. So this is very much focused on determining what your story is. And so you decide before you go into this workshop, I want to figure out my personal story. So that could be your meaning statement that's going to direct you in the work you do and other things, or it could be your work. Let's say, you know what, I'm not acing these interviews, or I know that I really want to start a business, but I'm not sure how to articulate it, or whatever that is. So you go into it knowing what story we're trying to build. And the idea is that in 21 days, you're going to really have it concisely and in a captivating way, so that when you walk away, you know exactly what you're doing and how to explain that to people. Because the worst thing is when somebody says, hey, what do you do? And it takes you like a minute and a half to get it out, and then you've lost them. Because if you might have the passion, you might have the talent, but if you don't have a really tight description, then you don't really know what you're doing either. And I'm guilty of this too. And so we have to get those words and that identity wrapped up together. The thing about this workshop, which I'm really excited about, is that included in the registration is a one-on-one coaching session with me. And that's an hour long. And that's a lot of time where we can do a deep dive into looking at, you know, what is it that you want to do, and how does the story benefit you? And so there's some context to it. So that's what that is. So, but yes, I did a bunch of those challenges and they were a lot of fun. I'm glad that you were in them. So thanks for remembering. Other questions? Anyone? Or any feedback or anything you want to offer before we leave?
This is excellent. I'm so glad I came.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Thanks everyone for being here. I look forward to your feedback and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks.